Hello Cowboy Fam, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about tomatoes. So it's going to be tomato time. As you can see, I do have a couple of varieties right in front of me, and these varieties I started from seed just about 2 months ago with 3 days, give or take. And so I've been waiting quite a long time. It's been testing my patience, but I want to get them into the ground, and I just want to give them the best head start that they can. So I'm going to show you how I prune them, how I plant them, and what kind of fertilizers I mix into the soil just to give them the best start that they can. I'm going to talk about the varieties real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get planted. So this first variety, which I have off camera because it's not doing too well. Well, I mean, it's doing well, it's limpy, so we're going to fix that though. And this one is a yellow pearl tomato. So yellow pearl tomato is kind of like a cherry tomato, but it's really yellow. It's supposed to be sweet and bitter, so we're gonna find out. And then right here I do have a sweetie tomato, and this sweetie tomato basically gives a bunch of little cherry tomatoes. And then right here we have a big rainbow tomato. This big rainbow tomato is supposed to give really big tomatoes. And those tomatoes are supposed to be really colorful, hence the rainbow name. And then here we have a Roma tomato. So in case you don't know anything about tomatoes, the Roma tomato is basically a sauce tomato. So in case you want to use it in like pastas and stuff like that, this is going to be your perfect candidate for that. And again, another sweetie tomato, so nothing too special about those. But what I love about these tomatoes is that I started them from seed. And it's been long and hectic because I've been struggling to keep them alive because of the heat. And they can be in these pots a little bit longer. But like I said, due to the extreme heat that we've been receiving down here lately in South Texas, I'm kind of struggling to keep these pots watered as often. So, I'll come out and at the end of the day, they'll be all wilted just because the water, it just goes through the pots so quickly, and it gets evaporated so quickly because it's such a small amount. But I feel like once I plant them in the garden, we'll have a much higher chance of them succeeding, And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you a little bit more, but for now, let's get planted. Right, so if you've been watching my videos, then you should know that I had planted more than just one squash. Unfortunately, the heat wave did kill the rest of my squash, so that's the only one that survived. No big deal, we're gonna be replanting squash, and I apologize to any of you who watched those videos and then you assumed that I was gonna get a big squash harvest out of those plants. Unfortunately, that's not gonna be the case, but like I said, we're gonna bounce back from this and we'll be getting some new squash planted quite soon. But what I am going to do for now is take advantage of the fact that this spot is not being utilized. So I'm going to go ahead and plant my tomatoes here. They're about 1.5 feet apart. And I'm basically just taking the fact that this plant is this big. So, this plant eventually will be that big as well. And then same here, and same here. I will be putting a trellis in later, but that'll be for another video, so don't worry too much about that. But yeah, as you can see, I already took the liberty of cutting off our lower branches, and the reason is because we're going to be planting these tomatoes about yay deep. And before you freak out and say, why are you doing that? Well, in case you did not know, if you see all of these little hairs on the tomato stem, well, the cool thing about those hairs is each one of those has the potential to become a root. So we're gonna be taking advantage of that, and we're gonna be planting our tomatoes up to here. What that's gonna do, it's gonna allow all of this to grow roots. And guess what? When you have a bigger root ball, you can produce more fruit and you can sustain more fruit without the possibility of overloading your tomato, which is pretty cool about tomatoes. So in case you didn't know that. So we will be planting them quite deep. I'm gonna be digging these holes now. And yeah, I'll get back to you once the holes are dug. Alrighty, so just like this, as you can see, our tomato is much deeper in the hole. And the hole is, once filled, it's going to be about right here. So as you can see, we still have all of this material, and like I said, all of this will grow new roots, so pretty deep hole as you can see. And now to help us get started with those roots, I am going to be placing some of this rooting hormone, so it'll help it produce roots right off the bat. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see, basically just pulled back my mulch and then started digging. Pro tip, I've said this before, but in case you're new here, always grab yourself a little handy dandy soil bin so that you can put your soil that you're taking out here so that it doesn't get mixed in with your mulch. You have your pile of mulch and your soil. Best to keep them separate. I'm telling you from experience. And as far as fertilizer goes, I am going to be placing some of this blood meal. You all see this quite often on this channel, but it's just because this stuff is really good. So I'm going to be planting it in the hole. And in case you don't know what blood meal is for, it's a natural source of nitrogen, so very heavy in nitrogen, a 13-0-0, so nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. And yeah, it's pretty simple stuff, but basically nitrogen helps promote green growth. So right now we don't want to produce fruit yet, we want to produce a bigger tomato plant. So to help that, we're gonna be putting some of this stuff inside of the hole. We still have those to go, and I'm gonna do them one at a time because my soil bin is not big enough to handle all of them. So I'll go one at a time and I'll keep you updated as I move along. Just like that, we got all 5 of them planted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next video will be on how I'm going to trellis them, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, it's gonna be really nice if this comes into fruition. We're gonna have a sweetie tomato, Roma tomato, big rainbow tomato, another sweetie, and then a yellow pearl over there in the back. One thing I did notice is that I let them go too long as they were a little root bound, but I think they should be fine. They should bounce back, and it's gonna be awesome. I just can't wait to see a whole bunch of tomatoes like that, but just filling this whole area. It's gonna be beautiful. And as you can see, they look really short now, but like I said, we planted them really deep, and that's gonna in the end benefit them. And in case you don't believe me, I did the same exact thing with this plant. I planted it extremely deep, and it has roots that are popping out of everywhere. So, and as you can see, it's been putting out some great growth. So yeah. And then just a little tour. We do have our zucchini, we have a vining squash, our cantaloupe, and then of course we have these beautiful tomatoes. Yes, there's some blemishes on it, no problem, it's normal, that's totally fine. We have a little bit of onions, but I mean they're not doing as well as I wish, but that is what it is. Again, our yellow pearl. These are kind of my pride and joy at the moment, besides my tomatoes and lettuce, but these habanero peppers. I did overwinter this pepper, so that's why it's so early. And then here we have our nice lettuce. I'm actually going to be harvesting this lettuce right now. So let's go ahead and get ready for that. Just pick off that dirt. And we have a nice beautiful head of lettuce. And yeah, I'll be harvesting all of that later on. I will be chopping this and then probably putting this back inside the ground. Not because I want it to regrow, but just because I would like it to kind of break down inside of the soil. It'll just be best. And then we have our basil. This is part of our herb garden. Our oregano is kind of stunted. I'm not sure what's going on there. We do have just a little bit of chives, not as many as I'd wish, but our basil is looking absolutely incredible. I already transplanted it. We have a little bit of cilantro here, so when I want to make my salsa. And yeah. Well, thank you for watching, Cowboy Fam. That's pretty much it for today. I hope you learned something. I'm gonna go make myself a salad. And other than that, I want to thank you for being around and hanging around in the garden with me one more time. New videos will be coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. Like I said, we're gonna be teaching you how to trellis your tomatoes, or at least how I trellis them. But yeah, thank you for sticking around, and bye bye.